WTA. We're at doing the Chilled Out series yet again. And today I have Catt from Enel. How are you, Jamie?
I'm doing really well, Marianne. Really appreciate you having us on today.
True pleasure. It's always lovely to have you on. We've got the conference in days. And I wanted to have a quick word to you before we get to the conference, because you and Andrew are coming, correct?
That's correct. Both of us will be there for the sessions.
Super. I wanted to talk to you about batteries. You say that cold storage operators already have batteries. How many cold storage operators actually do have batteries? And what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, when you talk about batteries, most people immediately jump to that chemical battery, the lead acid or lithium
Yeah.
ion type battery. And we're certainly seeing some cold storage players investigate those kind of battery energy storage options. But the reality is battery is simply a store of energy and something that takes energy from one period, stores it up so that it can be used at a later time. And when people think about batteries, they often go to that chemical battery type scenario. But a thermal mass that's had its temperature dropped is also a store of energy. You can apply electrical energy, reduce the temperature, and that store of energy can then be released over time as the thermal inertia of that battery, of that thermal mass starts to be given back. Provided that slow movement is kept, and temperature is kept within bounds, all refrigeration operations can be flexible in when they consume electrical energy from the grid, just like a chemical battery.
Okay, so why, I'm always specific to the cold chain. So why does having a ready-made thermal battery matter to a cold storage operator?
Look, I'm in the energy game and you hear lots of talk about the rising cost of energy and lots of discussion about people looking at solar PV, either with or without batteries, to try and reduce those energy costs. But put simply, harnessing the electricity consumption flexibility of a cold storage business's thermal mass is probably the best, lowest cost, and to be honest, the easiest energy-related investment they can make. Potentially 5 to 10% of their energy costs can be saved by using the flexibility inherent in their thermal mass of their refrigerated equipment.
Okay, so on that point, cold storage plants, some of them already get paid for making things cold, um, in a way of speaking. So how do they get paid again for using their refrigeration equipment?
Yeah, this is where things can sound really complicated, but really it's quite simple. The electricity market values sites that can increase electricity consumption and, perhaps more importantly, decrease electricity consumption depending on what is happening in the electricity grid at the time. That flexibility of the cold storage operation means they can participate in a number of these electricity market programs and get paid for doing so. Other industries that have to participate have to invest a large amount of capital to try and create that flexibility. The cold storage guys have it naturally in what they do. The tough thing for a business with a battery, either chemical or thermal, is accessing the electricity market, which is why many refrigeration companies have partnered with Enel and its virtual power plant model to try and access the value that the market has. That's what we do as a business, is take a bunch of small thermal mass flexible electricity loads and put them into something coordinated that the electricity market can use and therefore pay for. So companies still get paid for keeping things cold, but as the market pays them for shifting electricity from one period to another, there's a lot of value in doing that and they get paid for that.
So, there's a lot of big companies within the cold chain. Our three biggest, Lineage Logistics, Americold, and New Cold. So everyone knows about those, and I'm sure that it absolutely would appeal to them. But what about smaller companies? Is that useful for a small company, a small cold storage facility as well?
Well, certainly you're right. The big guys, particularly those with a global footprint, are well aware of these sort of activities, both in Australia and in other markets they operate. But each site pretty much stands alone in what the capability they have from a thermal mass, thermal battery perspective. So yes, a big player can do it, but a smaller player can do it. It all comes down to how flexible that thermal mass makes them and how comfortable they are in working the thermal mass between the bounds of their operational parameters. So it's all about making the electricity market program and the operational characteristics of each particular site work together to get the best out of them. And that's why Enel, having a finger in a number of market programs, probably more programs than any other provider of these types of services in the market, can tweak the particular program they're in for each site individually. But certainly as a starting point, the flexible cold storage operation type scenario is a very good starting place to be.
As a last question, is it useful, and should every cold storage facility have this, or would it not suit everyone?
There would be ability for any cold storage operation, and if you start expanding that out into, food production, which might have some storage and refrigeration as part of their process, and then going into 3PL type larger cold storage facilities, each will have a certain capability they can use their flexibility for, be that the speed at which they can respond to a market event or the duration they can last that market event. Both of those two characteristics have value. Great, if you can do fast and long term, which a lot of the big guys can do, that gives you the most value. But if you can do fast for a shorter period of time, or perhaps a slower start in a food operation perspective, a slower start as you have to manage some things for a different period of time, there'll be value you can extract depending on the particular characteristics.
That's a great overview. Andrew, thank you for coming on this morning to speak to me. I know that people will be interested to talk to you when you get to the conference, again, only days away, to talk more about thermal batteries and how it can and will help a cold storage facility. Thanks for being with us today.
No, thank you, Marianne. Look, appreciate you giving Alex opportunity to speak with your members once again. We have great working relationships with many of your members, but it's always good to reach out again and get that demand response message out whenever we can. So really appreciate it. And see you in a few days.
You will. See you there.
See ya.